Ben Simmons has been involved in a lot of trade packages, and quite honestly, there really hasn't been a lot of buzz from other teams that have been interested in Ben Simmons.
Sucks.
But there has been one team that there are reports that they badly want to trade for Ben Simmons, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. It has been reported that the Minnesota Timberwolves badly want to trade for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is best friends with D'Angelo Russell. I'm not sure if he's best friends with Cat.
They're cool.
They're cool, but D'Lo is best friends with Cat. So I think Timberwolves fans right now are kind of dreaming of this scenario where they have Simmons, D'Lo, and Cat. And I have a trade package. Let me know what you guys think about it.
Go with these trade
I have 2 trade packages for you. Ricky Rubio, Juancho Hernan Gomez, Jared Culver, and Leandro Bolmaro for Simmons. The other trade package would be Rubio, Malik Beasley, and Jared Culver for Simmons.
I think the second one has to.
100%.
Malik Beasley has to, because I know Anthony's not going anywhere, and I think they're gonna want to need a scorer. Beasley has to be in that trade.
Someone that can shoot.
How good do you think this team would be? This hypothetical Timberwolves team would be Simmons, Russell, Edwards, Cat, and let's just say Leandro Bolmaro is there for, or Hernan Gomez.
No, the skinny kid,
McDaniels.
Yeah, he's played, and
He's pretty
Nazi's
good.
there still too.
But
He's
Nas
good.
is a
Center.
Small ball 5.
Is a 5.
I'm saying
he's
coming
a
off the
5.
bench, he's good too. I think that team would be really good. You know, this team when it was healthy was a pretty good team, and offensively they're
competitive team.
Yeah, offensively they're really explosive. I think Ben Simmons brings that defense. You know, you've got shooters. Even you can play 5 out because Cat is a really good shooter.
The best shooting big man in the league.
Anthony Edwards, he's starting to find his own. So I think this team can definitely help, but the dysfunction in Minnesota is very weird. You know, this team gets hurt a lot, and this team's development process hasn't been great. They haven't been good in a long time. So, you know, a new environment would definitely help. But, you know, Ben Simmons going to play with his friends and being around people he played with. I think he played with D'Lo in high school, if I'm not mistaken,
Really?
at Mount Verde. Yeah,
They did.
That's cool.
I think they won a chip together.
They did.
You know, being around his friends could possibly bring back that motivation. You know, when you're around your friends who lift you up, it brings that motivation back.
Confidence.
So I think going here can definitely change the narrative. But like you said, I like your second package better than the first with Beasley in it.
Okay, so Rubio, Beasley, and Culver
And
for
it
Simmons.
fits the money. Yeah, Culver, you got to get him out of there.
All of these work in the trade machine. I tried it, and I'll be honest with you guys. I like the second trade package because not only do the Timberwolves get Simmons, they pair up Simmons with D'Lo and Cat, but Philly, you get a floor general point guard in Rubio,
And a 20-point
who
scorer.
has been improving his 3-point shot every year in the league. He is not a good 3-point shooter, but he's an average one. He's respectable at least. Malik Beasley, who's a sniper. Danny Green is leaving in free agency, so you could fill in that shooting guard spot. And now Culver, he's just a young player, so you can have Rubio, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, Embiid, and I don't know who'd be that 3. Matisse would be that 3.
You probably have to start him now.
That wouldn't be too bad. I think that would be pretty good
He'd be
for
their
Philly.
primary defender. He's their best defender
So
anyways.
one thing to say, Malik Beasley was suspended last season. He had something happen off the court. He pled guilty to a felony count. I can't read it right now.
But Malik Beasley's a 20-point per game scorer.
Oh, no, he's dirty. On the court, he's amazing, but he had some off-court issues. One thing I
Okay.
will say, actually, Ben Simmons and Karl-Anthony Towns, there's already talks of these two players not having the drive, the motivation to want to get better at basketball. And so Minnesota right now trading for a guy who already has those or you know these comments made about his character, or same thing that Karl-Anthony Towns, that Jimmy Butler constantly went in on the Wolves for lacking that extra motivational, you know, that motivation to want to be good on both sides of the court. I just don't know if this is the best situation for not just Ben, but also the 76ers. It's like the 76ers are right now in win now, and you're 100% right. You would get a floor general and you get a sniper in Malik Beasley, but you lose a significant part of that defensive core. And I'm not sure if Philly's going to trade Ben Simmons, they want to upgrade, and it should be a drastic upgrade.
They did.
What do you mean by that?
Malik Beasley's a drastic offensive upgrade.
Oh,
Rubio's
for
a
sure,
good defensive
for sure.
player, too.
And not to mention, they still have
But
Matisse,
then
who's their best defender.
you lose the size, you lose the length, you lose the speed, and Ben Simmons. And that's obviously a factor that a lot of people don't take into account when they talk about Ben Simmons leaving the Sixers.
Let me ask you a question. If you're a cat and your girlfriend is Jordan Woods, would you care too much about basketball?
He didn't care before Jordan Woods though. Like
Listen, she is absolutely sexy. That being said,
I wouldn't care too much about basketball.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'm getting paid
He's probably glad he's not in the playoffs. He's on vacation with her
and he's
right
getting
now.
paid like $28 million, bro.
I guess, but I don't want to say that's loser talk, but like that's loser talk. That's loser talk.
You said it.
But what do you mean I said it?
You said it's loser talk.
It is loser
He's a
talk.
loser.
I mean, like,
You're
supposed to be. You were the number 1 pick overall. You had all this.
Whoa! He's
on
a dog.
yourself. He's amazing at basketball,
Oh, okay.
but lacks drive. And then you pair him with another player who reportedly lacks drive. It's like that's the worst situation I could think of.
I personally believe that Minnesota's problem is their coach.
I was just about to say that.
At least before. I think
enough.
David Saunders didn't do a
Whoa,
great
they had
job.
Tibbs.
Tibbs was good, but he couldn't get the best out of them. And I think just the pieces on the roster didn't fit too well. I mean, Jimmy Wiggins, that's just the Antigue was the starting point guard, I believe, or Derrick Rose, one of those two.
It was like switching back and
Yeah,
forth.
pieces they didn't fit that well. So
On paper, it looks nice.
Chris Finch, I'm not sure what he's gonna be yet. But all the reports I've read about him are that, he's a highly respected coach. He won a G League championship team. He was part of Nick Nurse's coaching staff, and Nick Nurse has spoken highly of him. So I think Chris Finch can be a good coach, but I think that's Minnesota's real problem. But there's no doubt that if Ben Simmons, D'Lo, and Cat team up, that is probably the most
really
fashionable team in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just with that team would be on League Fits a lot. With Cat, Simmons, and D'Lo, they'd probably win an award for best dressed in the NBA, the best dressed trio
easily.
in the NBA.
D'Lo's so swaggy, man.
Because Shea is over there in OKC, but he doesn't have a dress partner.
Yeah, he's just him.
Yeah, it's just him.
Dolo.
But I think in Minnesota, Ben Simmons, Cat, and D'Lo would compete every single night for who's going to be best dressed.
I think,
but then what about the court? It's like,
what
what about the court?
I think we
didn't even mention Anthony Edwards in the mention.
Oh, he comes to work
because let's be honest,
he's gonna be a dog.
The dog.
Yeah, he comes to work.
Obviously,
but
Karl Anthony Towns, in my opinion, is the best player.
Look, I think this would be awesome for Ben Simmons. This is why. Let's talk about basketball now because we kind of swayed.
Swayed.
I did sway. I did sway. This is why. Ben Simmons with Philly. Even though Embiid is a phenomenal player, it wasn't a great fit because Embiid does his damage in the post. Even though he does catch his post entries at the 3-point line for some reason, Embiid kind of clogs in that paint for Simmons. If you have D'Lo, who's a 40% 3-point shooter, Cat, who's a 40% 3-point shooter, Edwards, who didn't shoot the 3-ball well, but he's not a guy you're going to leave open.
Yep.
And whoever that 4 is, I'm hoping it's Leandro Bolmero because I have high hopes for him. And he's a European guy who I expect to be a good 3-point shooter because that's what I expect every European to be. Then Ben Simmons now has the floor extremely spaced out.
Yep.
And now we can finally see Ben Simmons at his truest potential or try to reach that potential. Not only that, but also you have the pros of playing with Cat and D'Lo who are your friends who are going to give you that confidence to tell you, bro, shoot the shot. We want to see you succeed. So they're going to instill that confidence in Ben. And if Ben has that voice in his ear to tell him, do this, do that, yo, we got your back, I think Ben Simmons would thrive in that situation.
I agree. I think definitely like I said, playing with your friends brings that confidence in you. They're there every day. They can help you, get your game back. Definitely be in your ear, be on you, yo, bro, come on. And I think, D'Lo and Cat have a chip on their shoulders. D'Lo being to the playoffs once, same with Cat. Playing in Minnesota, they haven't really won much, and they haven't been healthy enough to even play with each other. So I think that's been eating at him alive too. And seeing what they have in Anthony Edwards, I think, Ben Simmons is only 24 years old. D'Lo's still about 24. Cat's young. Anthony, this is a young core group that can grow. None of them have hit their prime yet. And they're all under contract for about 2-3 more seasons.
And this is the beauty of it as well. If you're Minnesota, Malik Beasley is a very good offensive player. But you don't need offense in Minnesota. You need defense. You need defense in Minnesota. Rubio, we know what he is. You could part ways with him. And Jared Culver has not been what I thought he was going to be entering the NBA. Minnesota does not have their first-round pick. They don't have that 7th overall pick, which means that Minnesota has to find creative ways to get better. And Ben Simmons' value right now is the lowest that it will ever be. So putting a trade package for Simmons will improve your roster drastically walking into next season.
Definitely.
You get that defense with Simmons, and hopefully these other guys can buy in on that end as well. But this is the only way for the Timberwolves to improve their roster. Their bench wouldn't be that good. You'd have Hernan Gomez, Layman, Okogie, McLaughlin, Nas Reed, McDaniels. It's not too bad, but they're young players. We have to see how they're going to be throughout the entire stretch of the season. Mm-hmm. But I think the only way for Minnesota to get drastically better or even a little better this upcoming season is trading for Ben Simmons.
It's like I feel like that's a no-brainer, obviously, especially with the fact that you could get him for so cheap. It's just not even just thinking about it from the Timberwolves side. You look at it from the Sixers side, I'm just not a huge fan of parting ways with him after one series where he showed you where he could be at his absolute worst. And
it was a crucial moment, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It definitely wasn't a great look on not just the outlook of his
You get a
career.
new coach. Embiid has his MVP monster year.
Def.
You're the number 1 seed in the East. You have the perfect opportunity. You're looking on the other side of Milwaukee. Brooklyn is getting hurt. Milwaukee's about to beat them. This is the best chance. You have the best chance to beat Milwaukee.
I don't even think it's about that. I think it's more about we've seen Simmons and Embiid. We've known for a while that their games don't fit, but Philly has kept trying to force the issue, and now we see now that they've lost because now his trade value is so low. I think it's more about knowing Ben Simmons just doesn't fit with Embiid. You need to surround Embiid with shooters.
Yep.
And Daryl Morey gets creative.
You need to surround Ben with shooters.
And as long as Embiid is there,
that's why I like the Timberwolves fit.
You'll pick Embiid over Ben any day. Morey gets creative.
Of course.
Yeah.
Listen, that's a no-brainer because Embiid is so efficient scoring the basketball, and he is really good defensively. But like you mentioned, him on the Timberwolves would be absolutely perfect. D'Lo 40%, Cat 40%. You got Anthony Edwards, who's a very efficient. I wouldn't say efficient. The numbers
He's a rookie.
He could score the basketball multiple facets. So I definitely like the upside of this trade talk, Ben coming to the Timberwolves on a basketball level, but it just I can't let Ben go out like this with the Sixers, especially when you're not getting the capital that you thought the potential capital that you could have gotten trading him last season and getting a Harden. It's like he's 24 years old. He had one horrible playoff run. He's bound to make a mistake, especially this young into his career.
I don't think it's about the run, though. I think it's more about the fit.
No, this isn't his only horrible playoff run. He's had.
You say this, but like the year that they lost to Toronto to the bounce, they were one game away. They were one shot away from the ECF.
He's getting cooked.
But that team, it's like you said that Joel and Ben didn't work. They easily could have made a championship run that year.
But that was more Butler and Embiid.
That's debatable.
No, it's not.
It is debatable.
Jimmy Butler even talked about on the JJ Redick podcast that the 76ers started to hit their stride when Brett Brown took the ball out of Ben Simmons' hands
and put it in Jimmy's hands.
Said, Jimmy, you take over.
I mean, that makes more sense. Jimmy's better on the offensive side
of
the basketball.
But Jimmy literally said that if I was Ben, I would have been mad because he completely took the ball out of Ben's hands. So it wasn't Ben Embiid, it was Jimmy Embiid that got them to that point.
Been that still now.
Listen, even regardless of that, whether that's true or not, Ben still got his average 14, 6 assists, 7 rebounds.
I mean, I don't really want to go by the stats because you look at this past playoff runs, his stats were not bad.
I mean,
his stats were good, but
it still went down. And like he averaged 2 less points, he averaged almost 3 more assists, and he averaged 0.8 more rebounds. It's like his shooting percentage is around the same, actually, 62, but his free throw percentage was 20 points less.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that those numbers, those numbers this past playoff series weren't bad, but we know what we watched. And in that same run versus Toronto, I know what I watched. It was Ben Simmons. He was a liability on that court. That's why I don't think.
And even still, they almost won.
Yeah, but I think in Philly, you have to find players who fit around Embiid. And people don't talk about this enough, but before Chris Paul in Phoenix led him to the 2nd seed, Rubio is the one who jump-started that engine. Mm-hmm. He was the one that finally Phoenix got a competent point guard, and they were a respectable team that would have been a playoff team had it not been for that Ayton suspension and Rubio also getting hurt along that season. They were hitting their stride with Rubio, with the floor general point guard. You put Rubio in Philly with Embiid, making the game easier for Embiid on those pick and rolls. He's also a good defender. You still have defense with Rubio, Thibault, and Embiid. I think it's good for both teams.